The other thing is that Director Bucks last week at the hearing presented some information. They had an independent tax group experts verify the reappraisal values compared to market prices, and according to that report, the new appraisals are particularly accurate, except for including Flathead County, and I think that what it came out statewide, the new assessments measure about 2.5% below market prices. Of course, this is on average statewide, but Director Bucks did present some very compelling information last week that he had those values reappraised, and that's part of the reason for this, what's called the AB 26 process, is that folks who don't feel that their new assessed value reflects reality, that they need to go talk to the local tax assessors.
And I know a lot of our listeners in the Scobie area in northeast Montana that listen to KCGM have also been talking a lot about this. You mentioned, I know we've talked a lot about residential concerns, but there's also concerns with agriculture lands and values and timber lands and values, and then also the commercial. And we've got some other legislators who also, I think, wanted to call in and join the discussion today as well. We've got State Senator John Brennan from Scobie on line 2. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning.
What are you hearing from your area?
Well, first of all, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. It's great to be on the program, but unfortunately we shouldn't be on the program when we have dire consequences like we're facing today. The problem that we have up in our neck of the woods in northeastern Montana, you have a totally different climate. If you ever watch the climate report and the weather report, and they're putting values of production on land, and particularly grass and hay and irrigated land, that cannot even match that in certain places, even in California, where they have a year-round growing system. And so they base that on production, on the cost of what that grass or crop would bring. And in the case of continuous cropping wheat, they've got that at about 2.5 times the value of what summer fallow wheat is at. Now, I blame the department and Director Bucks on this. And when he came out and said that in the Great Falls Tribune that 98% of the ag land, that we're just having a great time doing it, I can tell you stories upon stories. Valley County, and I represent 6 northeastern counties up there, is that one fellow, his taxes went up 35%. Another a friend of mine, his taxes went up $3,200. A lady that's retired and in her 80s, her taxes on her small farm went from $2,300 and some dollars to $4,400 and some dollars. They've got production levels based on that are so high that it's driving the price. And then they use a dollar figure like on the price of wheat. Well, we had a lot of 10 and 12 protein wheat this year, and when you are docked at the elevator by 35 cents a quarter or 30 cents a quarter down, that's $1.20 and $1.40 less than the $5. So pretty soon that 10 and 12 protein wheat is basically worthless. And I don't understand how they can keep going this way, and there's going to be a revolution if something doesn't happen. And the department, I blame the department and Director Butts, their heads are in the clouds when they're putting some of these production figures. Most of our land up there is called HEL, highly erodible land. And I'll tell you what, it's a lot different than areas where it's down in the river bottom valleys and what have you.
And Senator Brennan, your thoughts? What needs to happen? Are you calling for a special session, or do we need to, or is there a process in place? Maybe a question for all three of you. Is there a process in place for a review for these agricultural folks as well?
I think personally that we're going to need a special session. I think we're going to end up in a special session anyway because of the way the revenues are coming into the state of Montana and our surplus being about gone. And we've got to get our heads together because, a couple years ago in the Flathead Valley, you had 4,500 parcels of property that were for sale, and now you have over 10,000. And we're looking at an economic downturn. And I think we've got some very serious problems. And how can you tax people when they don't have the money to pay it?
All right. Well, Senator Brennan, good to hear from you. Thanks for calling in this morning as well, and also for giving an update for our folks in the Scobie area listening this morning as well. Either one of you want to give a remark on Senator Brennan's call as far as specifically the agricultural issue? Was that discussed at much length in last week's meeting, or is that something that needs to be looked at a little bit further with the Department of Revenue?
Well, I'm going to just quickly answer and more with regard. It's good to hear from you, Senator Brennan. I hope that your prediction about a special session is not true. I will say that I think that we tried to hold the line fiscally last legislative session where our ending fund balance, we have our revenues are going down, but we've got a margin in there and had some good talk about what would trigger the need to readjust the budget. So hopefully that doesn't happen. And we are going to, I think a lot of time was spent during the last meeting, and Jeff Senator Essman can explain some of the ag stuff, but we have a working group, and I think that some of these properties had not been reassessed in 50 years, and so there's definitely sticker shock going on in the ag sector.
And Senator Essman, your thoughts on the ag question or the timber or commercial question as well, and then I do want to get to Chuck in Columbia Falls, who's on the line as well. But your thoughts on that ag question?
Well, in terms of the process, most of the ag land in the state of Montana had not been thoroughly and completely reappraised on a ground level basis as Kim said, in 40, 50 years. There have been a lot of changes in use in that period. What we did discover just within the last week between the agriculture groups and the department, and that's the issue that's being worked on now, is that change in productivity. And the way the department had implemented that, it resulted in basically 80% of this increase that they perceived of being applied to the property in the first year instead of 1/6 each year over the 6-year cycle. So that's what the issue the working group is going to study. I do believe some study is going to be required. The department took the basic approach that they were going to use soil types and rainfall in order to estimate the production. But that's not the only factor. You've also got climate. How long is the growing season? So that is an issue that could and should have been dealt with by the department through that agricultural advisory committee. For whatever reason, that did not occur. And I think we do have work to do in that regard.
All right. And Chuck is calling in from Columbia Falls on line 3. Good morning, Chuck.